When one of these things comes to your backyard, you can resist. And what that happens over millions of people is that you generate enough friction that they cannot go as fast as they want to go. Make sure that you are slowing down this system.
AOC's office advising migrants on how to avoid deportations. That was a live webinar. Trump border czar Tom Homan now issuing a warning to AOC.
I sent an email today to the Deputy Attorney General. At what level is that impediment? Is that impeding our law enforcement efforts? If so, what are we going to do about it? Is she crossing the line? So I'm working with the Department of Justice and finding out where is that line that they cross. So maybe AOC is going to be in trouble now. Sanctuary cities, they want to step aside. We're coming. We're going to do it for you. If you don't want to make your community safer, President Trump's going.
What's up, y'all? Gerald here, creator of Gospel Chops and your host for this YouTube channel, back with another video. Now, y'all, if you follow me for some time, you've heard me say that Tom Homan is Trump's man, appointed to be the border czar and in charge of Trump's mass deportation plan for this country moving forward. I'm not really sure how Tom Homan sees himself, but I kind of see him as the Paul Revere of our time, getting in front of the media, sounding the alarm, letting all Americans know that we have a problem at the border and we're going to fix it. Well, not only is he sounding the alarm, but he's taking action and rounding up illegal aliens all across the country, starting with the criminals. But not only is he sounding the alarm, he is in charge of Donald Trump's mass deportation plan from coast to coast that is rounding up the criminals and those who have already been determined by a court of law after due process that they must be deported. Those that are hiding out knowing that they gotta go. Well, Tom Homan is rounding them up and doing quite a good job at it, but he says he's pretty disappointed in the numbers and he wants to elevate those numbers, and so does the president. Well, one thing that Tom Homan is finding out that many of us have known for a long time is that not only are you going to face threats from outside of the country, external forces, but you are going to face maybe your biggest threat will be the enemy within. Yeah, that's right. Not only those who are citizens of this country, but those that we've allowed inside the gates. Yes, y'all, the enemy is inside the gates and operating in this country, using our freedoms and our laws against us. Well, Tom Homan is finding out that we also have some elected officials that are rising up against justice. They might need a little freedom of their own. And who am I talking about? I'm talking about the squad, y'all. And listen, the squad should go somewhere and tuck their tail and run. After taking losses in the last election in 2024, they lost Jamal Bowman, who should be in prison for pulling the fire alarm, obstructing Congress. They lost Cori Bush, who was just a loudmouth, do nothing. Seems like much of the squad don't do much. And then you got Rashida Tlaib, who is all talk, no action. And then you got this other one over here. Ilhan Omar, who should probably be in prison herself for alleged immigration fraud. They say she married her brother on paper in order to get him citizenship. Well, it's been alleged for many years, but it seems like nobody wants to look into it. Maybe under this new administration, somebody will be inspired and just take a look-see, see what's going on over there. Maybe get her arrested and deported. But here we have AOC, y'all, the leader of the squad. Yeah, she's the big fish. She sees herself as the queen bee of the squad, and she comes out and she does her little live streams and her podcasts and things like that. She tries to talk to the people, wants to present herself as a woman of the people, but she is an elected official making millions grifting from taxpayers and extorting her own district while doing nothing to benefit them. And here she is going up against Tom Homan, going up against Donald Trump, in fact. As they try to do these mass deportations, this woman took to the internet and had a webinar of criminality. She wanted to tell the people how to avoid being arrested. Well, listen, you're not talking about citizens, because citizens don't have to worry about ICE. You are talking directly to illegals. You are talking directly to the enemy within. You are, in fact, the leader of the enemies within. And as the queen bee, you put on your crown and you go live and you tell them, look, if ICE come to the door, don't answer it. Hide out. You give them specific directions on how to evade justice. And Tom Homan says, look, I need somebody to tell me because I'm out here trying to do my job and I'm being obstructed by the queen of the squad, y'all. And I heard law professor and brilliant legal mind Jonathan Turley opine on this issue and say, no, she's within her rights. It's freedom of speech, First Amendment. Well, we ain't so sure, Jonathan Turley. And we gonna need them prosecutors down there to comb through that law book, comb through that Constitution, comb through case law and let us know for real, what's going on with this because Tom Homan is fed up.
Multiple promises on immigration and deportation. You've said roughly 14,000 migrants have been arrested in the first month of this administration, and that's well below the 1,500 daily arrests that the president says he wants to see. You're getting support from across the federal government, from the FBI, from DEA, from U.S. Marshals, even the military. What's the struggle? Why are you struggling to get those arrests where President Trump wants them?
Well, we got to remember the interior arrests conducted by ICE in the interior of the United States is 2.5 times, 2.5 times higher than they were a year ago during the Biden administration. So ICE is doing a great job. I'm not happy with the numbers because we got a lot of criminals to find. So what we're talking about right now, we're increasing the number of teams, increase the targeting, the division of ICE that creates a target list of, finding who these people are, what their criminal history is, and where we're most likely to find him. We got to increase the targeting production. So we're doing that now. We're increasing the targeting. We're increasing the teams out there in the field. And finally, I'll be honest with you, sanctuary cities are causing us a lot of work. And rather than arresting a bad guy in Rikers Island, we have to go to the neighborhood and find them, find people that don't want to be found. It is hard because rather than one man arresting one bad guy in a jail, we got to send a whole team to the field to find somebody that doesn't want to be found. And so it's hard work, but we're not giving up. We're coming. Again, the numbers are a lot higher than the Biden administration, but we got to do more. And I've been real clear on that. That's why we're making the operational changes now that I've requested.
Now, you see there, Tom Homan stated it clearly that there are impediments to success in this mass deportation program. Not only is it the squad that's causing problems and AOC becoming an obstructionist, but you also got these sanctuary cities. And y'all know, if you follow me, I'm in a sanctuary state, y'all. Not just a city, in a sanctuary state here in California. And I hope that there is a reckoning coming, not only to this state government, but to the governor personally, who has aspirations to sit in the Oval Office someday. I hope it never happens. I hope that we can expose his misdeeds in this state and the corruption that won't allow voices like mine to even be heard on a political level. People look at California and they say, y'all crazy. No. Don't get it wrong. People in California are well-meaning. People in California, many of them are right-leaning, but you have such a corrupt government that the Republicans can't even win. It's so rigged. So when you look at California and all the misdeeds and corruption that go on here, don't blame the people, blame the government, blame the governor, and blame people like Karen Bass down there in LA who will sit back with their feet up and let a whole city burn. It is an example of the corruption that exists not only in this state, but in sanctuary cities all over the country. And you hear Tom Homan opining on this and saying, hey, look, we got some internal problems. No, this is not easy. We got some forces that are working against us in this country, the enemy within.
After Democratic Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for hosting a webinar for immigrants called Know Your Rights with ICE. I want to play what you said.
Is that impeding our law enforcement efforts? If so, what are we going to do about it? Is she crossing the line? So I'm working with the Department of Justice and finding out where is that line that they cross. So maybe AOC is going to be in trouble now.
Are you suggesting that she should be prosecuted?
I'm suggesting, and I'd ask the Department of Justice, where's that line on impediment, right? It's a broad statute. So I know impeding with someone stopping in front of me and putting their hands on my chest, so you're not coming in here and arrest that guy. That's clearly impeding. But at what line, where's the line on impeding? So I'm asking the Department of Justice, who are the prosecutors, and decide who they prosecute and what the standards of that prosecution is. I simply says, at what point is that impeding? Because you can call it know your rights all you want. we all know what the bottom line is. The bottom line is how they invade law enforcement. Don't open your door. Don't answer questions. Here's what we're talking about. We're talking about people here in the country legally with a criminal conviction who had due process at great taxpayer expense and were ordered deported by a federal judge, but became a fugitive. And we're talking about don't open your door to ICE. You know, you don't have to answer questions. I think it's more about how to invade law enforcement, not to get arrested, even though there's a federal warrant for your arrest. How to evade that rather than know your rights. Now, we can argue about that all day long. They have the right to know their rights. The Constitution said they have the right to certain rights, but also I hope to God we're not, educating people are going to be the next murder of a college student. I've said it before. If we would have had access to the man who murdered Laken Riley in New York, he would never make the Georgia killing.
To be fair, she said that
public safety threats escaping.
She said that she is just offering civil education and that you might be, quote, vaguely familiar with the U.S. immigration law, but that she's just doing what she needs to do to remind people the law of the land passed by congressional statute.
Vaguely aware of immigration law. I've done this since 1984. I forgot more about the immigration law than AOC will ever know. Matter of fact, the hearing a couple of years ago, I had explained to her that entering the country illegally was actually a crime. So, I'm not going to play that game with her. I simply made a statement. When you sit down with people who are wanted by us, criminal aliens that have been ordered deported from the United States government and ignore that order, if you and I ignore that order, we'd be sitting in prison. But they ignored an order from a federal judge. They're hiding in a home, and she's telling them not to open the door. Now, I'm not saying that's illegal. What I'm saying is I asked the Attorney General, at what point is it impeding and what point is it not impeding? So I'm simply, as a board czar, asking the Office of the Attorney General, where does it draw the line? So we make sure we give ICE agents the proper standard when they go to these homes. They don't open the door. At what point can you open the door? At what point can't you open the door? Mm-hmm. So we just want to be sure that ICE officers are doing the right thing. So this is about talking to Attorney General, because every Attorney General interprets things different. What is your interpretation of impeding? Where's that line at? I think it's a responsible thing to do as a board czar of the United States to make sure the men and women of ICE understand what they can and can't do.
Yeah, and of course, right now, being undocumented is a civil offense and not a criminal one, unless you commit those crimes. Thank you so much, Tom Homan, for being here. Appreciate your time.
Y'all need to understand that there are crimes that have been committed in this country that would not have been committed had certain illegal aliens not been on American soil. What rights do they have? No rights. Listen, Donald Trump is talking a lot about reciprocal trade between countries back and forth. Listen, if you put tariffs on American products, we're going to put the same amount of tariffs on your products in this country. Well, how about we do reciprocal immigration? Because if you go to another country, even down to Mexico, right across the border, you go down there and you try to immigrate into that country illegally and watch what happens. Go to Canada illegally and watch what happens. Let alone hundreds of other countries around the world that will deal with you harshly if you enter their country illegally. And yet America, under the Biden administration especially, has had wide open borders intentionally. No, you have no rights if you're an illegal alien. You certainly shouldn't have the rights of a citizen. Citizenship should have its benefits. Am I wrong?
State's highest court to hear arguments on a measure passed by the city council more than 3 years ago. The law has been blocked by lower courts that found it violates the state constitution. The measure would give the vote to legal non-citizens, such as green card holders and people with work permits who have lived in the city for at least 30 days. It's estimated the new law would make an additional 800,000 people eligible to vote in local elections. It would not allow them to vote in state or federal elections.
And there you have it, y'all. Tom Homan stating the obvious. But it might not be obvious to everybody. Let me know in the comments, what is your interpretation of American law? Because this man is saying, look, I'm coming to a fork in the road here where I'm going to have to make some decisions, but this is above me now. I need somebody who can really make this decision to let me know how I can operate, because it seemed like AOC is way out of bounds. Seemed like AOC need a little freedom. We might need to put some handcuffs on her so she can know what freedom is. Well, it's about interpretation, right? The interpretation of freedom might mean locking you up. The antithesis of freedom. But he's saying, look, I'm going to pass it on to the suits. We out here in the field, we rounding them up, but I'm going to pass it on to you at the DOJ. Let Pam Bondi tell me how she feels about this, because we're going to have to deal with it. We're going to face opposition every step of the way. Why? Because over the last few years, over the last administrations, we have let these people into this country. We have elected them to Congress such that they operate as enemies within. They are obstructionists. There are problems when it comes to the Trump agenda. They're going to have to deal with it. So he's saying, hey, Attorney General, let me know how I can move and how I can't move, and we'll work accordingly within those boundaries to get the president's agenda accomplished. I ain't got no problem with that. I think that's fair because he doesn't want to overstep. And he doesn't want to bring any heat upon the administration. Y'all already know it's going to be hot for the next 4 years. Look at my videos. That's what we're talking about, because Trump is dominating the media cycle. And here goes AOC popping up her head thinking she can rival Donald Trump in the media. Listen, you better learn to have a seat before you shine so much light on yourself that you find yourself facing criminal charges. We'll see what Pam Bondi comes up with, but we know how Tom Homan already feels about it. I know how I feel about it. Let me know in the comments how you feel about it, because I'd love to know your thoughts on this one. And don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the video so we can get more people involved in the conversation, y'all. And like I always say, always remember and never forget, without the gospel, it's just chops. Until next time, peace.